by the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation Beit YAH CHOKMAH BINAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York, giving glory to the Most High, King of the universe, for life, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I'm thanking him for all that he's done for me, my family, and I'm giving him glory all the time, always giving glory to the Creator. So, thanking you all once again for being here with us. Don't forget to always subscribe if this is your first time listening. Don't forget to like the video and to share to all your different platforms. It's part of bringing the algorithm and getting people to tune in to this actual program. So early Shabbat Shalom to everyone out there, and because this is pre-recorded, so and it plays on the Shabbat night or the Shabbat evening for all of those of you that listen. So thanking the Creator once again. And at this time, I'll be passing over the mic to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I give praise to the Supreme Eternal Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. And due respect to the platform I'm on, the D.C.B channel platform, the spiritual leader, Chief Prince Yeri and Saska, that hosts Chief Uziel, to the Prince's Chief, brothers and sisters, Rabbinate, Maureen, visitors, greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, and an early Shabbat Shalom. So this particular week, we'll be covering the 16th chapter of Proverbs, but we also going to speak on a little bit about the Passover story continue, and this Shabbat just passed was called, sometimes referred to as Shabbat Shirah, which means Shabbat, a song, because the main song that was sang by Moses, then Moses sang this song, is in this particular portion of Beshalach. And also the Haftorah that goes along with it from the book of Judges, you had a prophetess Deborah who sings a particular song of a victory celebration. So before I go any further, I'd like to say, Adonai Septadi Takufiyagi Tilateaka, Allah that my lips and my mouth shall declare thy praise. I'll be going back just a little bit. First, I'm going to address, and I thank for the comments that different people left on there. And I apologize for not answering one question, but I'm sure the young man got the answer anyway. In reference to the name change, and you could either go to the lawyer and pay a couple $100 more, or do it yourself and fill out the proper papers and an advertisement and go down to the courthouse and, submit your own name change, which I recommend doing that way because it's a lot cheaper than paying maybe $300-400 more to have the attorney do it. So it's a very pretty much simple process, just filling out certain papers, an advertisement, standing before a judge, and pretty much that's it from what I understand. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just saying from what I understand. Also, that I'd like to also address a thanks for the comments that was made by Brother Burke And I just want to say that what we must focus on is developing ourselves. And instead of focus on developing somebody else, that's why we had this saying that to win friends and influence people to a better way of life and a better lifestyle. The lifestyle is not me, but towards the Creator. So the thing is that I'm working on me. Hopefully, as I develop myself and present myself in a more God-like fashion, that it be influential enough to motivate somebody else to do likewise. Because sometimes talking might, not do as well as you actually displaying. We used to have a saying in the street that talk is so cheap, people do it in their sleep, but action is deep. So, yeah, sometimes you got to, apply the action to yourself. And when people look at you and respect you and see you carrying yourself a certain way, then they're going, if you ever even slip or do something out your norm that you say you don't do, they will even assist you and say, I thought you're not supposed to do this. I thought you're not supposed to be about that. So that's what I like to say. And also, like I said, I made it clear that was just my personal choice. It don't make me any better than anybody else because I don't drink, smoke, stuff like that. It don't make me any better. I just want to make sure that that's clear. What it does is that I find it better for me to keep a clear head. Leaves me less excuses to be act a fool, but to keep a clear head. Perhaps the Creator might use me in find me worthy enough to use me in a more laudable fashion. So that's what I wanted to share. So it's not about being radical or radical change. Change is slow. And as we read this particular portions, as we go through, the changes for the nation of Israel is moved about very slowly. They didn't get all these laws and statutes at one time. They got things gradually. And then some laws they only had in theory, and other laws will only be applied after the 40-year march in the wilderness. So this is some things to bear in mind. So if you make yourself I say a role model is what they say, a role model, then just like people in my basketball players and different sport idols and actors and stuff like that nature, or entertainers, well, to be a role model that exemplify a form of holiness, that is really should be man's goal. All right, in that sense. All right, we tend to admire more people that don't even know we exist than the things that we should admire to make our existence a lot better. All right, so so that being said, I like to go back a little bit and just speak on some things I've rushed on through because since I'm doing the Proverbs, I try to rush on through certain aspects of the Sidra. So I'm gonna go back a little bit and just bring out a few things that mostly is taught concerning last week's Sidra. All right, so when you look back about the Passover, the first Passover that's being instituted, all right, we know that this the first time Moses had to again. I mean, second, just the time that Moses had again assembled the elders to tell them the institution about the Passover, the new month, and the form of dealing with the Passover meal and the sacrifices. And actually, those sacrifices, pretty much your home with the blood up on the two doorposts, also acted almost like an altar. So your home was actually a sanctuary for that particular Passover. And while I'm speaking on that, outside the land of Israel, and outside some of the places where God designated as being the holy spot, all we could do is observe the day. I ain't saying you can't eat lamb on that day. I didn't say you couldn't roast lamb on that day, but I want you to know you can observe the day. And I just want to make it clear, and in the sense that the lamb we cook or eat, and that Seder night, some people don't eat lamb because their various customs. Simply, it's not that Passover lamb. First of all, it got to be a lamb, under a year old. That means if it's 365 days it made a year, it's too old. 364 days on a solar year, then we're good. And it got to be slaughtered at the place, where God designated to be slaughtered, and you eat it in that same spot. So today, those places that we eat lamb now, some certain sects might eat, look at Mount Gerizim as a holy spot, and they, certain sects of Judaism. But we have the people that have the lamb and bitter herbs. That's really saying, what is bitter herbs? That's always a question. And what is considered bitter? And when they say bitter herbs, Mara. And when we deal with the unleavened bread, that's basically, bread that's having turned into what they call comets, had time to ferment. All right. So I'm not going to go much into the Passover thing now. It'll be coming up a little later than normal because this particular year you happen to have an extra month in a lunar calendar to harmonize with a solar year. But I'll be speaking on it sometime in the future. Again, revisit this subject. But what I want to bring out is why we eat. I left a question on the table last time, and I didn't see any comments on it. I just wanted just revisit that question I left and said that if you have two males in the house, they're the only family members, a father and a son. The father is a widower. He has no other relationship, no relatives related to him. The father also was a firstborn. And the son is also a firstborn. And I thought I might have, got a few comments in reference to that question, but I'm just going to share my view on it because I said, discuss it with your various teachers and see what you come up with. The majority of people I shared that information with, they have no sons. I mean, the father have only one son. One son, he's a firstborn son of his mother. But like I said, the father's a widower. His mother, so the child's mother is just dead. No other relatives at all. They happen to be in the land of Egypt. So now when the Creator go to smite all the firstborns that night, most people that I asked said that both of them had to die that night because they both were the firstborn. So all the firstborn. And it does say it was not a house, there was not one dead. Some even have a controversy about Pharaoh being a firstborn, but Pharaoh was not only a firstborn, because that's the Egyptian custom, but also that it stated earlier why Pharaoh was able to survive a lot of plagues. And even in the Sidra, when we get ready to go into the Beshalah, you don't find definitively that Pharaoh died in the Yam Suf. So that's another issue. Also, I like to ask the questions. In the beginning, it said that Israel, my son, even my firstborn. If you don't let my firstborn go, I will slay your firstborn. Exodus, the 4th chapter, around 22nd verse. So that was the edict originally only for Pharaoh, all right, and it would apply to the people. But I'm saying we take it literal, because a lot of people that I talk to like to take everything literal and not necessarily literal along with the context. So I'd like to just go back just for that for one moment, and then go back to here. And I figure it's worth spending time since I asked that question. And in the 4th chapter, the 22nd verse, the Creator saying, "And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus said the Lord, Israel is my son, my firstborn. And I said unto thee, Let my son go, that he may serve me. And thou hast refused. And behold, I will slay thy firstborns." And that's where it ends, like that. And I read that to say, sometimes when people say, literal, then, and we just read that alone. All right. We know Israel is used as a nation, but do Pharaoh himself, do the Egyptians call themselves Pharaohites in that sense? So I just want to bring that point out, when I asked that question, because it's not only, it's a question about moral justice. And one of the prophets says, do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly to before your God. That's 2 guys that's in Judges' estate, Judges' level. So now, was the Creator going through Egypt that night to wipe out a complete people, exterminate a people alive, or just touch on a few people in the Egyptians' line and the people of the land line of Pharaoh, other than Israel? And also, it's phenomenal that everybody had actually a firstborn. We see it says son here. So that means if we go by son and we go by the last part, then everyone in the nation of Egypt that wasn't amongst the Israelites had a male firstborn son in their household. From Pharaoh to sit on the throne to a maid in a dungeon. So I just want to bring these points out, hopefully rapidly, because I addressed that question. And that when Abraham even asked him about justice, about righteous and slaying the righteous with the wicked. So I'm looking at this as an issue. Not saying I'm gonna be right, and I want to make it clear. I'm not saying I'm right, and I'm not saying the other people is wrong. I'm just saying this. Just look at it and examine it quickly. All right. So now, if the 2 people was died, as most people said that I asked, because all the people I asked about, I think I asked about maybe 10 people, and only one came with the answer that that I have for a different reason, and I'll disclose that in a moment. All right, so they so the thing is that then who's to do the burial for that particular household? Who's to mourn for them? All right, so the neighbor's busy handling their own mourning. You could sympathize with somebody else that also had a tragedy, but you're more concerned with your own tragedy. Next, the issue is you wiped out a complete household line. Was that the objective of the Most High? And so you ask those questions there. And then, if the father died, that's natural and the son was alive. But if the son died and the father was alive, that's not natural. And that's more heart-wrenching. We get a semblance of that, how Jacob felt when he thought he lost his sons. We get a semblance of that when Yehudah thought he lost, Yehudah did lose his sons. When Judah lost his sons. when God slayed them. And he just had Shelah. And Judah was reluctant to give Shelah to his daughter-in-law, Tamar, because that perhaps he might die. So it's much more heart-wrenching in that sense, where Judah was the only one that Jacob trusted because he understood what it is to lose a son. Pharaoh should understand what it is to lose a son. So now, my last thing is that I said it was only the son that died and not the father. And I asked one guy who's in this way of life, Jewish guy in this way of life, but his profession actually is a prosecuting attorney. That's his actual profession. And he's a very high profile prosecuting attorney. And I just happened to ask him one day when we left Minyan, which is the prayer we do in the morning. And and he was reluctant when I said it was a Torah question, but I said it's got a little bit to do with legal matters. And he said, okay, because I guess if it was Torah, and he figured I might be asking some deep stuff, I should ask the rabbi. And when I asked him, right away, he agreed it was the younger son, the son, not the father. And his reason, which I agree with as well, was that once you become a father, your status change. So therefore, if it's just you and your son, though you're a firstborn, and your son is a firstborn, and that's all you have, you are, your status has changed along. So now you're a father. You're not a firstborn son. Technically, you actually are a father. Like I'm a patriarch. I'm a firstborn, but I'm a patriarch in my family. Now as far as the males go. But I have brothers, siblings, and I have quite a few children, and we have examples of law. If a bird was on the young or the eggs, you must have make the mother go and take the young. And usually birds, it's easy if she a threat to run, but you say you must make her flee, make her leave. So those are my viewpoints. I just wanted to share that and open that up with that viewpoint there, and let you know what I can, my answer, my view on that particular question I proposed. Also, now, it's another thing I like to bring out as we go forward is that when we look at the Passover night story and why we celebrate Passover, why we eat unleavened bread. All right, so we know God said we're supposed to eat unleavened bread during a meal. We know that also it's an institution of a feast of unleavened bread to continue throughout generations. But most people, when you ask them, why do you eat unleavened bread? Other than the Creator saying it, most of them will believe that because we left Egypt in haste before our doors along the back, which we're going to find a little bit in the Sidra Beshalach as we go through. Those that read it anyway, many y'all read it already. I'm speaking afterwards. But that's not the reason, that we eat unleavened bread. And the reason we eat, ate unleavened bread is not because we left Egypt in a haste. It was in a hurry. It was not. We was told specifically to eat the meal with, our shoes on our feet, loins girded, staff in the hand, and eat it in haste. That's the only thing we was told to do in haste, not leave the land of Egypt in haste. Because we didn't leave in haste. We hung around there, and as we read in Beshalach, it was several days before Pharaoh caught up, almost a week before Pharaoh caught up with us. About a week. So when we look at it in that vein, we definitely didn't leave in a hurry. We're supposed to be in a hurry to get out of there. I mean, mind-wise, not that it was a command, but we had time to borrow jewels of gold, jewels of silver, and raiment. So we had time to borrow. Ask. I shouldn't use that term borrow because a lot of books say that. Ask the Egyptians for those things. So we wasn't in a hurry to go. And most of us was reluctant to go. That's why as we get ready to go into this particular portion, Bishop, we're forced out. So now I'm on but in the 10th verse of the last week's I want to read about the ninth verse of the 13th chapter before I go into the Bishop. Because they came forth out of the land of Egypt, and it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thy hand, and a memorial between thy eyes. I want to read this here verse here. All right. Now it's talking about the Passover instructions. But when it gets down to this point, I want to bring this out. And I might as well pick it up from the 8th verse. And I shall tell thy son in that day, saying, it is because of that which the Lord did for me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign unto thee, and upon thy hand, and a memorial between thy eyes, that the law of the Lord may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in its season from year to year. First of all, Passover got to be always in the spring. Another acronym for, Abib is, some people use Kabbalistically Father of 12, breaking up Ab, and then, Yom Bet for 12. The spelling of Abib. But when we look at it in the sense, most people think about the tefillin, and more commonly it's called the phylactery, where you bind your hands up with this leather strap with a box up there, parchment inside a particular laws, and you have it on your head with a leather strap with a box with parchment inside there, Torah segments of Torah law. So that's where they get the custom of wrapping tefillin from this particular verse here. It don't tell you what to do, how to do it. So we know it's a rabbinic, ruling. This is what you should do when you pray. And this is how you apply this particular precept. But it doesn't tell you that. The closest thing you find to azitz is when the Kohen Gadol having to have this part that says "Holy to the Lord" wrapped around his head, and that is referred to as azitz. But when we look at this particular verse, this is where they pick up that custom of tying tefillin. And one of the things we know for a fact, because the tefillin, especially the one on the bottom of the head, that carries 4 compartments have 4 scroll writings or sections of Torah, mostly from Deuteronomy. So we know Deuteronomy ain't written to the 40th year. That's number one. So, and we know the tabernacle was built a year later. So I'm just going to highlight those things for people that tie, or tie tefillin and understand certain concepts. This is where they bring it from, which is where they pick it up from. But it's a custom that was started. I don't know exactly when, but I know it's done even centuries later that this particular precept is done as such. So I just want to bring that out. But when people say you're commanded to wrap it, or bind it, that's, like I said, amongst one sect of Judaism, they know it's just metaphorically. When I grew up, we understood it as metaphorically. other people take it literal, but don't tell you how to do it literal. You have a rabbinic ordinances to tell you what to do literal. So I just wanted to share those insights as we move forward. Now, we're going to go into the Bishlach right quick. So Bishlach starts in the 13th chapter, Exodus, the 17th verse. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not by the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war, and they return to Egypt. Now, that verse, when you go into the Chronicles, First Chronicles, and I lay that for you to research, is that you're going to find out that a certain group of Israelites left Egypt early. And where they go? The Gath. Gath is famous also for another individual centuries later, which is Goliath, who's the champion of God. All right. So they left early and went into the and went to the land of the Philistines. And you find this in the book of Chronicles, First Chronicles. So I'll just let you do your own research there. And that they wind up, and it's mostly from the tribe of Ephraim. And there's only one Ephraim that's mentioned in the scriptures, and that's Joseph's son. And when they went there, they did some, did what they do. I would say I'll leave that for you to look up. But in short, they was beat down and destroyed. So now, if other Israelites is coming, and mind you, the Philistines, we took a long time to beat them. Long time. In David's time was one of the times that we finally was able to, really, really suppress the Philistines. But for centuries, the Philistines, for many years, they was more powerful than we were afraid of them. They got beat down so bad that it says in the Chronicles that Ephraim, the patriarch of his descendants, because Joseph been gone already, that he mourned all the days of his life because of what happened to some of his children. So some people did leave early. And for the Creator to say this, God knows. God do not have to guess. So he knows what it's saying. And he didn't say everybody now. You know what I mean? It don't necessarily mean everybody. All right. But, it said, that's peradventure, it said peradventure. It said it in a good, in a most easy form, and say they want to go back to Egypt. So they'd rather be a slave than fight for their freedom. Oh, well and good. All right, so we had to take a scenic route. All right, I said, but God led the people about the way of the wilderness by the Yam Su. Not, it says Red Sea in the book, but it's really the Sea of Reeds. And the children of Israel went up out of the land of Egypt. All right, that word is contrary, but they looked like they was presented by their host. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely remember you, and ye carry up my bones away from hence from with you. All right. Now, I just want to focus on that because there's some points I'm going to highlight. I'm not going to touch on a lot of stuff this particular week as usual, but I want to focus on this here point here. While everybody else is getting, silver, gold, raiment, and spoil in Egypt, Moses remembered the oath that Joseph had made the children of Israel swore. When you go back to Genesis, the 50th chapter, you'll be able to see that near the end. That he took an oath for the children of Israel to carry his bones up. Now, another question. All right, now I've revisit next week, but with my viewpoint on it, and it'd be strictly my viewpoint because I haven't read it, so it'd be my viewpoint that I'll be sharing next week on that. But another question is, why is it that Joseph, out of all the 12 sons, said, "Carry my bones up," and want the children of Israel to swear, and he died earlier than his brothers, and yet you don't read where none of the other patriarchs of the tribes has said, "When I die, carry my bones up back to my land." Now, it's I discussed it with Maisha a little bit, and I gave him my viewpoint, but I'll let everybody else wait for next week for my viewpoint on it. And one of the things in reference to that is that only Joseph designated the children of Israel to swear, but he said God will visit them, and nobody else did. And then how long is telling you right there when he make you swear to carry my bones up out with you? Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years. So when you do the math, Joseph lived quite a few many years after that. Them people, the Israelites, are still in Egypt. Joseph didn't see no time soon for them to leave. The other people didn't see no time soon for them to leave. What was the issue? So all that is something to think about as you move forward, and understand our time in Egypt and the Exodus story, and sometimes kind of analyze some of the problems that we have for the 40-year period. All right, so if I see any comments, I'll revisit that next week. All right, so when we go further, 21st verse, it said, "And the Lord went before them by a pillar, before them by day, and a pillar of cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, that they might go by day and by night. The pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night departed not from before the people." That's important to realize, because we're going to have that also through our 40-year period in the wilderness. So that means that when we look at all the stuff that goes on with our travels, from the very Exodus, when we get ready to leave Egypt, when you find that the children of Israel wander, you can say, well, what context they wander in if you got a guide? You had a guide. God was constantly guiding them and guiding them to the spot where they need to be at that point in time. So wherever they travel, when they follow that pillar, they follow God's will. So just something to consider in those areas there. I'm just move up a little bit more. In the 14th chapter, it says, "And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn back and encamp before Pahirot, between Migdol and the sea, before Baal Zephon, over against it shall ye encamp by the sea. And Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, They are entangled in the land. The wilderness has shut them in." All right. A lot of times people don't know how to travel in a desert area. A lot of times if you don't know how to navigate with astrology, looking at the stars up above, you could walk around in circles in the desert and be lost, and because you don't have no sense of direction. It's almost like mariners that's on the ocean. There's no land for hundreds of miles, no land. So sometimes thousands of miles, no land, just pure water. How do you know whether you're going north, east, west, or south? So when they supposed to be leaving to go a particular spot, the Creator had them linger. So hence they still in Egypt after the Passover Seder, after they were sent out. They have not left, though they were sent out. And then and then fourth verse, and I will harden Pharaoh's heart. He shall follow after them, and I will get me honor upon Pharaoh, upon all his hosts, and the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord. And they did so. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people are fled, and the hearts of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned towards the people. And they said, what is this we have done? Remind you now, Pharaoh ain't the only one that had a hard heart. They didn't like us getting up and leaving like that as it is. All right. We have let Israel go from serving us. That means my economy is gone. All right. It changed my economy. Can you imagine the day you're supposed to leave that house that you actually had your Passover Seder, and when you was told to meet, and we had a meeting spot, Ramsey, everybody meet, because one of the things about leaving, you say, okay, we all going, but where are we going to meet at before we go? We got to leave in an orderly fashion. A lot of people think about, well, we all going to leave this land. All right, we all going to leave this land, but the thing is that when we leave, we're going to leave in an orderly fashion. We're not going to leave chaotic, every man on his own. And here it is that we had to structure. So they had to meet at Ramses, and as they met at Ramses, then they wind up, making this step and moving out where they had to go, and with Moses. But you had to have a meeting spot, and so that's one of the things why they had to assemble the elders. So this is understood as you read the previous chapters, and then it said, what have we done? One, they wanted to get rid of us. The hard thing is, my son just died. And you're going to come and ask me about a gold bracelet or a silver chain or a gold chain? Or you like this outfit over here because it's embroidered with real gold and silver in the embroidery? You didn't, you're just gonna come and say, I'm sorry for your loss. And you the cause of my loss? And then you want me to give up something instead of you giving me something? That's hard. That's very heart-wrenching. Very heart-wrenching. But sometimes people be so destitute and so sad. It's almost like the reversal that people, Israel couldn't listen to Moses because of shortness of spirit. They wasn't not even able to put up a resistance, even though that would be a most callous moment to ask for something from them in a most vulnerable time. So it was like a role reversal. We could not listen to Moses because of shortness of spirit, and those people there, in their most weakest moment, couldn't resist the people they looked down upon because of the heart torment that they had. Anybody would pretty much agree that's out of character. You should be bringing me something. Part of a person sitting shiva customarily and rabbinically, or somebody just lost someone, is that when they mourning, the custom is to bring them something edible, bring them something to, make sure they eat, make sure they got something to drink, see if there's anything they need, but not to hold a conversation unless they break open the conversation. That is what we normally do. All right. So when we look at those areas like that, so that was a heart-wrenching thing that I didn't get a chance to bury my son yet. And you see him laying up there on the bed or on the floor, wherever he dropped. I didn't get a chance to pick him up. I haven't even got a chance to bury him yet. And you knocking on my door. And I know that it's because of you that he's gone. Now, So you can understand the trauma on both ends. And you can understand how a person might feel on that end. So it ain't just Pharaoh hard, just got a little bit of hostility now. But yet they was urgent and try to get them out and say, look, go. Here, get out of here. And send them out. But now they said, what have we done? That ain't the way we roll. That's not the way we move. We don't move like that. We was over these people. So now, and it said, and he made ready his chariot and took his people with him, and he took 600 chosen chariots, all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over them. All right. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel, for the children of Israel went out with a high hand. We ain't sneaking out. Before, you had to, you couldn't get out of the land of Egypt. You was a slave. Now we're not sneaking out. And with all that bling we got, you got wagons, you got cattle. So you moving like, hey, we know these guys going. And yet, word got back to Pharaoh. Pharaoh got servants. Why he had to make ready his own chariot? He's in a hurry. Like Joseph made ready to see his father, his own chariot. Pharaoh made ready to come get us with the rest of the people. 600 chosen chariots, not counting all the rest of the chariots that might have been. See, we just think about the 600 chosen. But he had an army, but these is the elite chariots. The Torah goes on with it. They talk about 900 chariots of iron. But these are the best of the best chariots. It's like during World War II with the German tank compared to the Allies tanks. They had the best tanks. But that's another story, why Ramo couldn't, do what he do. But when we look at it in this area, that you got 600 chariots. So a lot of chariots got more than one person up in there, but let's say it's just one person that's chosen. And you got the rest of the army and you got other local chariots and you're coming after the people. All right. So I just want to go a little bit further on this here before I break off. All right. And it said, an Egyptian pursued after them all the horses and the chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and they overtook them in the camp by the sea. So it's more than just 600 chariots. They got the entourage, a real Egyptian army, the whole might of the army. Besides Pharaoh in front of Baal-Zebon. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. And they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us to bring us forth out of Egypt? You mean tell me, when do a person use that kind of sarcasm? Israelites is something else. In the most dangerous situation, they got some sarcasm. They crying out because they fear, and they figure it's gonna be a death sentence, and yet they say, Moses, I like to be buried. How many people like to say, this is where I want to die? This is where I want to die. That don't sound glamorous, no matter what the scenery look like, because you ain't going to enjoy the scenery. So what the scenery look like, where I want to die. But a lot of people say where they want to be buried. And said, look, I don't want to be buried out here. If I had a choice of being where I want to be buried, I'd rather be buried in Egypt. So is there not enough graves in Egypt? It's a saying that the grave is never full. But yet, and people that's from, I'm from New York City. So most of the cemeteries in New York City got so full that they started going over to Jersey most of the time, way out Long Island somewhere. Or if you had a grave that was unattended for X amount of years and nobody, taking care of it or doing anything, somebody else going up in there. But they made that kind of sarcastic remark at that time, to Moses. And they're in a panic. And they say, you're dealing with us bad. Is this not the word we spoke unto thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it would be better for us to serve the Egyptians than should we die in the wilderness. Now, first of all, the work was bad. All right, the work was bad. Now they had something else they had to add to the scenery. It's almost like when we say about the firstborn. All right, I will kill your firstborn. God having changed the edict of killing the firstborn on Egypt that night in the Passover, but he expanded from the firstborn of man, firstborn on beasts, and on the gods of Egypt. So that night of the destruction, the Creator took that personal and did that. So it expanded on the edict that we read earlier in 4:22. All right. So as we look even further, and Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. For whereas ye have seen the Egyptians today, you shall see them again no more forever. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. Now, I just bring up this comment that's mostly a rabbinic comment, but we taught similar things in the camp I come from, BINAH, and you had 4 different groups, just like you had talked about 4 cups of wine and everything like that, or the 4 types of salvations. You had 4 different groups, and the 4 different groups that it talks about is when you have those that say, "Oh, they're coming. Let's commit suicide," and then become a martyr and jump into the sea and drown. And you got another group. No, let's go ahead and surrender. Raise a hand up and say, "Look here, you got us, boss. We're coming back home. We'll take a few beatings and go back to work." And you got another group. No, I want to fight. We can fight them. We can fight them. And you got a 4th group that want to pray. So, if it's any time to pray, now's the time to pray. Because we're between a rock and a hard place. So now Moses in this answer subtly refuted every option, the 4 groups. And before get into that, think about the 4 groups. Every option, he refuted them. And one area is that those that want to turn back, definitely an option. So you tell them, stand still, be still, don't jump into the sea. Those that want to surrender, you won't see each other anymore. Those that want to fight, God will fight for you. Those that want to pray, there's no time to pray now. So all this stuff is going on, that he addressed all 4 different categories at this point in time. Now, what would logically you would think, if you only have 600 chosen chariots, and we had 600,000 men of war, and we just dealt with the chariots alone, you mean to tell me 1,000 Israelites couldn't beat 1 Egyptian? 1,000 Israelites can't take on 1 Egyptian. That show you how it is. And then also to show you to beat down that how you going to fight and stand against your master? If the Egyptians are your master, how are you going to fight with them? And if they're oppressing you, why would you want to serve them? So Moses answered all the different factions in that area, and to hold your peace. Some books would say, keep silent. So prayer, just not the time to pray. But what Moses do? In the 15th verse it says, and the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Some leaders might tell you what to do, but they had that panic on them too. I need to calm y'all down. I need to tell y'all what you need to know and what you need to hear. But I feel the same. I feel the same problems too. Because not mind you, Moses was a fugitive at one time, so he could understand all that because he was a fugitive at one time. So now, at this point in time, he's telling the people to be cool when he still got the problem. And that's what the sign of a good leader, not to transmit that fear factor to your people that you lead. So when we look even further, and it says, and the Lord said to Moses, why thou criest unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. That was the solution. Lift thou up thy rod and stretch out thy hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go into the midst of the sea on dry ground. And behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall go in after them. And I will get me honor upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, upon the chariots and upon his horsemen. That's how you know it's more than just the chariots there. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh and upon his chariots and upon his horsemen. And the angel of God went before the camp of Israel and removed and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud removed from before them and stood behind them. All right, that's another story I'm going to explain later on, but that's not to get. That's why I guess a lot of people think about the angel of death destroying in Israel, because it talks about angels, but you got to read it in its context as where it's stated and where God say he take things personal. But we know automatically, just that we know the end of the story pretty much. I'm not going to focus on the whole thing, but one of the things that you say go forward, the water's there. I mean, how many of us know how to swim? The nearest river we had was the Nile, infested with all kinds of crocodile, snakes, and hippos. So who's going to be doing a lot of swimming there? Any people that were bathed by the Nile, they have security in a certain area, because anybody, I'm in Florida. In Florida, a lot of people in Florida don't swim unless they go to the YMCA or they got a pool in their house or their yard, backyard or something like that, because it's infested with a lot of dangers. Poison snakes, constricting snakes now that have been imported over here, certain fishes that would tear you up, and also the gators. So a lot of people, especially in some south region where they have gators and stuff like that, or snakes, a lot of people don't swim. Like people in the big cities, we swim because we go into a public pool. So how many people are going? That's a terrifying thing. And then when you go to a water, every water ain't clear, but so clear. Even if you go to the Caribbean and you see fishes swimming underwater, you can't see it all over, and you only can see it for a little distance. But how deep it is, and if the fish is there, do you really want to jump in there? So that was a traumatic test of faith for the children of Israel, to tell them to go forward. And why? Because Egypt is behind us. So we're going to just skip over that. There's so much stuff I want to bring out about. But I want to just touch on two other points. We know they went to the Yam Su. It opened up. They went in, they came out. And I always like to bring out this here. They didn't cross the Yam Su. Like we say, go straightly like a straight line from one side straight to the other side. They actually made a U-turn. They stayed in Egypt. They made a U-turn in the Yam Su. They didn't go all the way across the Yam Su. And I always like to focus on that and bring that out. They still stayed in Egypt. So we really didn't leave Egypt in haste. We just supposed to eat that meal in haste. That was the only thing in reference to the Massa in that area there. All right. And also when they said that, they didn't eat because the dough was in their back and it then turned 11. Well, that blessing that the Creator dropped on them that night sustained them that long. Because if you traveling anywhere and you got dough, then how do the dough not sour? how do it not ferment? All right. So that means that that same blessing that was existed in that night when God passed by existed that long because there was no refrigeration. So they had the opportunity to enjoy and eat unleavened bread for quite a good while from the blessing of the Most High. So these are some of the things that, we got to conceive and understand the different miracles and stuff that took place there. I just want to bring out one more point, then skip over to the Proverbs. I'm looking at my time here. So I'm gonna skip over about the water, and I want the water and the song because the song is unique. That's why it's called Shabbat Shira. So I'm gonna skip over that, and I want to go into the actual 16th chapter. I'm not going to focus on about they complained about the water, and they had 12 springs at Elam. I'm not going to bring all that, or 70 palm trees, but they usually use round numbers because 70. You figure if it's 12 tribes, then one tribe gonna be short. If each tribe, supposed to get 6, palm trees, so 6 times 12 is 72. So 70 is a round number. Just like when they say the Septuagint is a round number, or when they say 600,000 men of war. When you did the census, you find out that 600,000 is a round number. We had more than 600,000 literally, but the round number is 600,000. So Torah tends to round out things. I want to bring that out because you hear this issue about the 430 years and all that. So I just want to bring out those things in transition. All right. So in the 16th chapter, it says, and they took their journey from Elam, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, and which is between Elam and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, and in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would that we die by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt. Wow, things changes a lot with us, boy. All right. Said, God, I want you to kill me. I don't want no. You didn't have to kill the Egyptians. You could have just killed me. Ain't that something? You don't just kill me. Don't kill the Egyptian. You could have killed me. Now that's gratitude. Ingratitude that's shown in a bad way, because they had a lack of real gratitude in that sense. But they say, but anyway, I'll move on because I don't have time to, really talking about it. And said, when we sat by the flesh parts, when we did eat bread to the full, for ye have brought us forth unto this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then the Lord said unto Moses, behold, I will cause to rain bread from heaven for you. All right. So now I want to bring on this here. I want to bring out a real important point of a custom that's going here. And it says, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may prove them whether they walk in my law or not. And it shall come to pass on the 6th day, they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, at evening, then ye shall know that the Lord hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning, then ye shall see the glory of the Lord, for that he had heard your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we, that you murmur against us? And Moses said, this shall be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, for the Lord, that the Lord heard your murmurings, which you murmured against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. So like some people in history should have realized that. But anyway, I'm just going to end off in that part. I want to elaborate on this, and I'll probably pick up something next week before I go to Proverbs. But one of the things I want to bring out before I go to the Proverbs is that the manna, we got a date when the manna starts, and we got a date when the manna ends. That's very important to keep in your mental Rolodex. The date when manna start, and the actual date when manna ends. All right, those important points going forward, especially when it deals with certain customs and countings. All right. Also, what we realize is that on Shabbat they have, I'm going to just bring this out, they have what they call 3 meals. The word day is mentioned in 16th chapter, around, I think, around 25th verse. I might have went over that a little fast. But in the 16th chapter, Beshalah, around the 20, maybe 25th verse, they use the word day 3 times within there. And on Shabbat, it had the custom of having 3 meals. And, the third meal is called Sadat Shalishi, or third meal, or various other names in reference to that. Now, the manna, the manna was given. We got a double portion. You picked every day. If you picked it up in the morning, by noon it melted. It was also certain customs that's developed with the manna. And one of the areas with the manna is that we would say naturally would be a dew on the ground, and then next thing this thing would drop upon the dew, and then we do cover it like a sandwich. That's one of the customs that they would have when they have those that follow a rabbinic tradition. When they have challah, on the table, they had challah sitting on a plate and bread in between, a little cover over it. Also, when it's talking about 3 meals, of course, the word day is mentioned 3 times, but concerning the eating, the manna, about the manna, concerning manna. But what's important, I want to stress, is that when you got a double portion, now we know what happens if anybody picked more, they had less. Anybody had less, had the same amount, 1 omer, which is basically it's a dry measurement. So, but I guess it's basically what you say, if it's liquid, maybe about a couple quarts or some change. One of the things we got to look at is that when you had the meal on Shabbat, the meal that you have Friday night, we mostly call it a Shabbat meal because the Shabbat came in. So that's the meal for the Shabbat most people look at. And then you have meal for the morning before you start off for your prayers. And then you have another meal. And then that meal in the daytime for Shabbat ends, because most times the custom called Sadat Shlishi. Well, the 3 meals is actually reminiscence of not only the days, but also represent Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Also supposed to represent the Torah broken down. The Tanakh broken down, the acronym for Torah, Ketuvim, Nevi'im. Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. Right, the Torah, the writing. The prophets and the writings. All right. So now, when we go further into that area there, we find that that when you had the 2 loaves that you picked up on Friday, you have a meal. We didn't eat 3 meals mostly in the ancient time. We did the morning meal, and we had the evening, meal for the night. That night, that supper, which we refer to it down south. It went like basically lunch. So, and when you had the 2 manna loaves, 2 mannas, Friday's manna, since you got a double portion, will be used for Friday. So that means if you ate in the morning and you ate that evening, which begins the Shabbat, that's still Friday's omer, part of Friday's omer that you ate. So you only ate technically the manna. The manna that was for that particular day. That's what you ate. When Shabbat, in the morning, when you get up Shabbat morning, then now you're eating from the actual proportion that was designated for Shabbat. So you're eating that morning. And then when Shabbat left, you're eating a meal in the evening. That evening, which would be the beginning of Yom, Echad, but it's the dinner meal that concludes after the Shabbat had left. It's because you're eating from that omer for that particular day. So the Sadat Shlishi, that meal there is, more it became a rabbinic custom, but it's not the main meal for Shabbat. When we think about the third meal, you basically got 2 meals. So that main meal, the second omer that you got for Shabbat, is only ate at the beginning of Shabbat, I mean, in the morning of the Shabbat and after Shabbat. And then there was an interesting thing about the name, man. They didn't know what they call it man. Man means prepared food. And since later on, they called it Manna. They gave it a name. Said the house of Yaakov gave it a name, Manna. But they didn't know what it was. They just said, man, it must be prepared food. You could eat it straight. You could cook it. You could do all kind of stuff with it. So, and it might taste whatever you want it to taste like, but it still had the same look. So I don't have time to really go into it right now, but I just wanted to share that portion there before we go into the book of Proverbs. I wanted to share that particular portion there in reference to that. And any questions on what I said, please leave it in the chat. So we go straight to Proverbs 16.
Going to the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, starting from verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
The preparations of the heart are man's, but the answer of the tongue is from Yehovah.
All right. So you know, man proposes and God disposes. You know, a lot of times we think we got it down pat. You know, we think we said, this is my agenda for the day. But if it ain't God's will, then David, you thought your agenda would be for the day. You know, so this is what it's saying right there. All right. So in other words, unless God is with it for you. And when we read this particular portion of Proverbs, we almost in the middle of Proverbs, but a lot of the verses, you know, the first 15 verses itself is interrelated, you know, I mean, and dealing with, you know, God as being a link and stuff like that. So, you know, which you have disconnected individual sayings, but then you got actual verses, you know, dealing with God relating, binding, like a binding link. So when we, this is really shows what the whole Proverbs is about. It's not just you, but how you link yourself to the Creator. Continue.
Verse 2. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but Yehovah weigheth the spirits.
All right. I mean, you can't tell me I ain't thinking. I'm thinking wrong. You can't tell me about that. You know, my mind tell me this. This is what I see. This is what I understand. All right. But it says the Lord weighs your spirit. But you might think you're doing this and you're doing it right. And a lot of times, a person hate to see themselves being wrong. That's why most of the times I say any mistakes from my own, you know, I claim it right away so you can help me get better. We continue. 3.
Verse 3 reads, commit thy works unto Yehovah, and thy thoughts shall be established.
Keep going.
Yehovah have made everything for his own purpose, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil.
All right, ain't that something? Even the wicked for the day of evil. All right. A lot of people always consider, hey, God's so righteous, why he made evil? You know, but he didn't make you to do evil. You know what I mean? That's why it said, you know, for the wicked, the day of evil. That means you're gonna reap that benefit. So he didn't make you to do evil. He made evil for those that happen to do a wicked thing. So this is what it says in the Proverbs, you know, and that's why, you know, everything is made, you know, for God's own purpose. All right, that's what it is. That's why he's God. All right, and you know, a lot of times we if we don't commit your works and in dedication to God and looking for God to bless your hands, then you ain't looking for much of a blessing because you're going to tend to be vain. But let's go in 5th verse.
Verse 5 reads, everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to Yehovah. My hand upon it, he shall not be unpunished.
Keep going.
By mercy and truth, iniquity is expiated, and by the fear of Yehovah, men depart from evil.
Hold right there. That means only way a man is going to depart from evil, if he's alive, you know what I mean, is by the fear of the Creator. Now, sometimes what's strange, we tend to fear men more than we fear God. That's more often, you know, than not. But but the fear of the man, as long as he's present, but the Creator is ever present. So, and so when we talk about, by mercy and truth, iniquity is expiated. Only the Creator, can, allow you to be forgiven for doing things against Him. A lot of times we think on Yom Kippur. Most of us think about Yom Kippur, and when we think about Yom Kippur, we think of, all I gotta do is talk to God. I ain't gotta talk to the guy I did wrong, or the sister I did wrong. All right, I just gotta talk to God, and that's it. As long as me and him straight, later for anybody else. But it's not the way it works. But continue.
Verse 7, it reads, when a man's ways please Yehovah, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him.
Why? It ain't say it's still your enemies. But he busy handling some other stuff. He ain't got time for you right now. It didn't say this is your friend. It causes your enemies to be at peace with you. So, him, that's not important right now. I got other things to handle. I got bigger fish to fry. But that's God protecting you, in that sense. Because, you can't make everybody be your friend. Though you would like them to be your friend, you can't make everybody be your friend. Some people just going to say, I just don't like them. I'm not going to deal with them. I just pick it up at 9.
Verse 8.
8.
Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues with injustice.
Keep going.
A man's heart deviseth his way, but Yehovah directeth his steps.
Okay, now a lot of times, we might have a plan on where we're going to go today. And say, no, I'll change my mind. I'm going to shoot this way. I'm going to handle that. All right. We always, instead, we like to say it this way. This is what I usually say myself. I'm going to use myself. I got a contingency plan. Because I don't know how this day going to turn out. So I have me a contingency plan. So I feel good by saying I got a contingency plan. It's, I would feel better if I say, I hope God, it's the plan that God had for me. I would feel better if I know that. But, this is, human life. Keep going.
Verse 10, it reads, a divine sentence is in the lips of the king. His mouth trespasseth not in judgment.
All right. Well, he ain't doing wrong. He's the king. He in charge. He in charge. And that's a local king. But keep going. We pick it up at the end. Okay.
Verse 11. A just balance and scales are Yehovah's. All weights of the bag are his work.
Okay. Now, we was told earlier in law, certain laws have life, a reward for it. Honor your father and your mother. Days may be long. Letting the bird go and dealing with the young, so your days may be long. A just weight and a just balance, so that your days may be long. All those are laws with rewards in it. So that's what we talk about. All right, the 12th verse.
Verse 12 reads, it is an abomination to kings to commit wickedness, for the throne is established by righteousness.
Keep going.
Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and they love him that speaketh right.
Keep going.
The wrath of a king is as messengers of death, but a wise man will pacify it.
All right, that's what I said. You got to say, well, okay, I got to figure out how to talk to him. Moses came with a way to talk with God when we had our most terrible moment. And our terrible moment was when the sin of the golden calf. But this is words spoken in timely season. Continue. 15.
Verse 15. And the light of the king's countenance is life, and his favor is as a cloud of the latter rain.
Keep going.
How much better is it to get wisdom than gold? Yea, to get understanding is rather to be chosen than silver.
All right. I mean, you can keep on it. I mean, if you got the wisdom, you can hold on to what you got. You can make do with a little. A lot of times, I always upset when I hear a lot of the young guys say, I've been in Israel all my life. I'm born this way of life in Israel. And we still ain't doing this. We still ain't got that. We still ain't got so and so. We still ain't. But then most of the people that says that haven't established anything predominantly themselves. They're living off of the people that, that had less education, less money, segregated in harder times, and they haven't moved too far from what they had established. Matter of fact, they let a lot of stuff get run down. And when you work for something and establish something, you're gonna keep it up. But if you didn't work for something, you just come on in there, you let it go, because you don't know what the sweat and tears and the aim and the laudable ambitions that the people had, and the God sent feeling they had in trying to get this thing started. All right, continue.
Verse 17. It reads, "The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul.
Keep going.
Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall.
Keep going.
Better it is to be of a lowly spirit with the humble than to divide the spoil with the proud.
Okay.
He that giveth heed unto the word shall find good, and whoso trusteth in Yehovah, happy is he.
Okay.
The wise in heart is called a man of discernment, and the sweetness of the lips increaseth learning.
Okay.
Understanding is a fountain of life unto him that have it, but folly is a chastisement of fools."
Because you could get hurt by stupidity. I used to have this saying that I've seen years ago: the price of education is high, but the price of foolishness is even higher. So if you do something foolish, you're gonna pay more for it. Sometimes it ain't just gonna be monetary; it's gonna be bodily harm. A lot of times, some of our ailments is based on our lack of knowledge or our ignorance. And then sometimes be on foolishness, just on foolish pursuits. I know guys, unfortunately, that had bad liver issues, and they was told not to drink, they'd be okay. Don't you know? And they mostly alcoholic. They'll sneak a drink every now and then and stuff like that there, and they wind up leaving here, and they was told all you got to do is don't drink. Because your liver can't take it anymore. And they had that high stuff, because these guys much older than I was, so they go with that the high escalon, this kind of proof or that kind of proof, and they don't sip, they guzzle, So and cough and everything, and say that's good, that's what they do, So sometimes they destroy their own self. For foolishness. Continue.
Verse 23 reads, "The heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and addeth learning to his lips.
Keep going.
Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and health to the bones.
All right.
There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death."
All right. You got to know it's right. You can't say it seems right. You got to know this. That's what it is. It ain't no guesswork. It's check work. You got to check and make sure everything is straight out. Keep going.
Verse 26, "The hunger of the laboring man laboreth for him, for his mouth compelleth him. An ungodly man diggeth up evil, and in his lips there is as a burning fire.
All right.
A forward man soweth strife, and a whisperer separateth familiar friends." A man.
Why is that? Hold up. And I want to focus on that just for a moment. A whisperer means that I need you to hear this, but I don't need everybody to hear this. That's basic. That's why he's whispering. This is for your ears only. Nobody else here. And that means that he already said that you could be in a company of people, and you only need to whisper when you're in a company of people. When you and the next individual you're talking to, you don't whisper. But it's in the company of a multitude of people, and you say, "Oh, I don't want to be part. I don't want them to know what I'm saying, so I'm gonna choose you out of everybody else." That's what whisperers do. Let's think about it. Continue.
Verse 29, it reads, "A man of violence enticeth his neighbor, and leadeth him into a way that is not good.
Keep going.
He that shutteth his eyes, it is to devise froward things. He that biteth his lip bringeth evil to pass.
Keep going.
The hoary head is a crown of glory, it is found in the way of righteousness. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. The lot.
Okay, hold on there. All right. So, old age, hurry in, I might do a little Rembrandt every now and then for those that don't know. But but the thing is, in ancient societies, an older person, like I said, to be able to become an elder, older, is only an opportunity for a select few. And that's why in the ancient times, and most Chinese and our way of life, the elders are the ones that was looked upon as prestigious and essential to a society. And sometimes, like in America, they say, cart them off to the old folks home, get rid of them. You know what I mean? They're living too long, and everything. Shut them up in the room. So this is showing you that the value system has changed. The last few verses.
The last verse reads, 33. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of Yehudah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Okay, I just want to deal with this here. All right, the 32nd verse. Say, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh the city. So, I want to focus on that last part, because the last thing about a mighty man, a mighty individual, when you talk about a mighty individual, and I'll give you a story. There was a king that, and he had a servant that was a real pious servant. And he told the king that, that you're great, but I'm greater than you. Because I'm great because you're a servant to your servants, in that sense. And he said, how could be that? And I'm the king. How am I gonna be a servant to the servant? You my servant. How are you gonna be a servant to my servant? How am I gonna be a servant to my servants if I'm the king and you're my servant? I don't see that. And he said that all your desires, you put me in charge of. Because you ain't doing it. You tell me to do this. You tell me to handle that. So therefore, I must be the master, though you the king. But you ain't doing anything for yourself. You telling me to handle that. So if you're telling me to handle that, then who is the real master? And that's something to keep everybody humble when you're getting high esteem. Because if you got to constantly tell somebody to do something, even if you're in authority, then your very desires is only subjected to the person you told to handle that. Your desires. So that should keep everybody humble. So I hope you got something out of what I said. I know I went a little bit fast and a little bit over, but any mistakes by my own, leave a comment, and I'll try to address them the best I can. If I can, I just say, look, man, I don't have an answer for that one. And that's a good question. All right, with that, I say, Shalom Aleichem, early Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. Torah by Nasik. May the Most High God bless you. Shalom, shalom, family. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And we will see you next week, Yah willing. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.